Welcome to Paranormal Heart Podcast with host Kat Ward. Welcome to Paranormal Heart Podcast, paranormal talk with heart and soul. Tonight's segment is pre-recorded on United Public Radio Network 107.7 New Orleans, 105.3 the Gulf Coast, YouTube, Spotify, and any place you find your favorite podcast. If you haven't picked up your tickets yet for the second annual Gatineau Ottawa Sasquatch Conference on August 15th and 16th, don't wait. Tickets are selling fast. This year's event features an incredible lineup, including Kevin Tracy, Peter Smith, Ron Crypto Guru Murphy, Sunbow True Brother, Ken Gerhardt, and yours truly. So if you love Sasquatch and the unexplained, check the link in the show notes and grab your tickets. I hope to see you there. So my dear haunted hearts, thank you so much for tuning in. For segment 93, I am joining once again by Mr. Dave Scott. Dave is creator and host of Spaced Out Radio, one of North America's leading late-night paranormal talk shows. With more than 20 years of broadcasting experience, Dave explores UFOs, cryptids, ghosts, and other unexplained phenomena through thought-provoking interviews and researchers, experiencers, and experts from around the world. So tonight, Dave will be speaking to us about the Haunted 108, originally known as the 108 Mile Ghost Tours. So please help me introduce the lovely and talented Mr. Dave Scott.
Hi, how are you, Kat? It's been way too long. And, one of the things I love about doing shows like yours is, believe it or not, the majority of your audience and my audience is American. You and I are both Canadian.
Yes.
And thank you for the service of your husband, by the way. He's
thank you so much.
Canadian Armed Forces, and make sure you give him a big hug and thank you from all of us.
I will. Thank you, Dave. I really appreciate that.
And a big thank you to you for being a supporting military wife as well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, he was in for 26 years, so a lot of heartaches and happiness. And
I bet. But, one of the things that I love about this is, for the American listeners out there, they don't really understand that Canada has a very, very paranormal history, except we don't get into it. Canadians are very passive people. Mm-hmm. And we don't get into it as much as we probably should. While paranormal tourism is taking off in the United States, there's conferences every weekend. There's multiple channels, hundreds, thousands of channels on YouTube and Rumble and other sites, TikTok and Instagram regarding our type of subjects. The majority of them are all in the United States. And in Canada, I believe in Canada, there's maybe 6 or 7 conferences, maybe 8 conferences a year to deal with the paranormal, UFOs, Bigfoot, whatever it may be. And it's really a shame because it really shows the lack of knowledge that a lot of Canadian people have for these incredible subjects that we deal with on a daily basis. And I think, you know what? In a way, I kind of like it because it means that, our haunted areas are probably going to stay a little bit more quiet. But on the flip side, it is something that it's an untapped resource of paranormal, supernatural phenomena. And that is from coast to coast to coast. And maybe we can introduce with Haunted 108 here coming up a little bit of haunted history that Canada provides right along the old Gold Rush Trail.
Well said, Dave. Yeah, I love all my guests, no matter where they're from. But of course, I'm partial to the Canadians. That's where my heart is. It's my country. It's my people. But I'm not even. I think top listeners are Americans for me. Sometimes it's Canada in second place, but sometimes it's in third. But I get people listening from all around the world, and it's just I can't believe that there's not as many Canadians listening. But what you just said with the U.S. people, where they have conferences, it might be a little bit more aware that people in the States know about all these paranormal podcasts, I'm guessing.
Well, you know what? It's our job, people like you, people like me, to try and bring those stories in and allow our beautiful listeners, wherever they are located, to see that there is some amazing paranormal supernatural events happening north of the 49th parallel.
Mhm.
And we're going to get into that.
That we will. And I just have to give a shout out to Jen of Paranormal NL down there on the Rock in Newfoundland. She was recently on your show, I think. Was it a month or two ago? Or was it?
Months ago, yes.
Okay, yeah. Already a couple of months. Wow, yeah. So I just want to give a shout out and say hello. So, Dave, before you mentioned it to me, I had not heard of Haunted 108. And I'm so happy that that's the topic that you wanted to talk about, because it not only gives the listeners something to know a little bit more about our country, but I know too, because as a Canadian, I don't know all of the haunted locations. I mean, I get a lot of people from the States asking, oh, what do you know of this location? I'm like, nothing. It's just like, I hate to say it, but then I have to research it. And so please, what convinced you that 108 site deserves to become Haunted 108?
Well, we have in my area of British Columbia a place. I live at a place called 108 Mile Ranch, 108 Mile Ranch. Mm-hmm. And we have to go back in a little bit of really, really amazing history here to understand what is going on. So let's go back to the 1850s, 1860s. Mm-hmm. Okay, not much going on. The West was still the wild, wild West in the United States. And it was around 1845, 47, around there, where all of a sudden in Nevada, outside of Virginia City, they found silver. And the prospectors rushed to Virginia City, which is, if you ever get a chance to go on their haunted ghost tours there, it's phenomenal. It really is phenomenal. And I would recommend, if you're into the paranormal, Virginia City has to be on your map. It has to be. It's amazing. And as they started, the prospectors, that is, started moving north, they started finding gold in the mountains. And so as that trail started moving, it went into Northern California, which, if you look back in history, if you're an NFL fan, the San Francisco 49ers got their name from, and their coloring of the gold on their uniforms.
I totally forgot about that.
It is from the gold rush. Yeah. And so from there, Kat, the trail went up. Everybody in U.S. history knows about the Oregon Trail. And then nobody really talks about Washington State and Idaho getting in there into the gold rush, but it enters British Columbia. And they started finding gold all the way up to the Yukon and Alaska. So they started creating this trail called the Gold Rush Trail. And that passes, for people where I'm sitting right now, about 3/4 of a mile, maybe a mile behind me. That's the original Gold Rush Trail from where I'm talking.
Really? Wow.
Yes. And during that time, there were all sorts of areas. The area blew up. Okay. And I mean, not explosion, but I'm saying population wise, people started coming from Mexico, the United States, Canada, on the East Coast as Canada was being built. We started seeing people coming from India and China and Japan and all over the world coming to British Columbia, either through Alberta or through British Columbia via the United States, where they would all of a sudden come in looking for gold. What a lot of Canadians don't know is, if you go into the history of the wild, wild West, where we hear of all the villains like Billy the Kid and Billy Miner. I don't know why they were all named Billy. People who were train robbers and you know, they'd shoot up saloons and rob people, and they were merciless in their gangs. They all came up here. They all came up here looking for gold. And you know, the Gold Rush Trail and the Gold Rush is actually the reason why the Canadians now have a police force, because the Gold Rush Trail, because of the violence and the robberies that were going on during that time, they decided in the area that they would create a police force called the Northwest Mounted Police, which in the 1800s eventually morphed into the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. So there's a little bit of history, and the reason why we see, the Mounties using their original uniforms and with the red serge and the black pants with the brown riding boots, and they still ride horses to this day, many of them, in certain areas, usually on special occasions.
Yep.
But it is a great part of the history that even a lot of Canadians don't know. And so during the gold rush, when you came into British Columbia, you would enter through a place called New Westminster. That's where all the ships stopped. And New Westminster was British Columbia's original capital. It then eventually morphed into Victoria on Vancouver Island, being British Columbia's capital. But during that time, British Columbia's capital was New Westminster, and you registered in when you arrived that that's where you go. And then you made your way up. You would hop on a paddle wheeler on the famous Fraser River. And what a lot of American people don't know is when you think paddle wheeler, where do you think? The Mississippi River.
Yeah.
The Fraser River during the gold rush had more paddle wheelers on it than the Mississippi River. And everybody would take the paddle wheeler up to the canyon, and the furthest place in the canyon you could go was this town called Yale. And then when you arrived in Yale, you would hop on you would buy a horse or two, you'd buy a carriage, and you would start making your way up towards the gold rush. And you would follow the trail. Well, that trail goes up, and then once you get through the canyon, you end up in a town called Lillooet. Well, where I live, 108 Mile Ranch is exactly 108 miles on the trail from Lillooet. And this is how our little towns got established. So during that time, what we would see happen is we would see these post houses start being named as mile markers. So every mile marker, whether it was 37 Mile Ranch or 51 Mile Ranch or 53 Mile, 70 Mile, you name it, all the way up to the Klondike, they had these, what they called post houses back then. Today, the term would be like a hostel or a motel. And that's where you could spend a night or two. Of course, you paid for it. You could have a bath. You could get some food. You could get your drink on. You could feed your horses. Or let's say you had a lame horse, you could get another horse. You could get a hearty meal and play some poker. And since it was the majority of men in the area, you could also hire a lady of the night. And ladies of the night were very important on the gold rush. And sometimes they were treated very well. Other times they were used, abused, and even murdered, because maybe they tried to escape from that lifestyle that they were, most of the time, what we've learned is kidnapped. They would go to the bigger towns and they would kidnap young women, usually between the age of 15 and 25. And they would kidnap them, and they would, I don't want to say shackle them up, but I'm sure it happened. And they would say, this is what you're going to do, and become a prostitute. And there was a lot of tragedy in that area. So that's how our town got our name, 108 Mile Ranch, because of the hostel or post house that was there. So about 50 years ago, our area created a lot of they're elderly now, but a lot of people in the area figured, hey, we need to preserve some of this beautiful caribou heritage that we have about the gold rush. And so what they started doing was they started culminating a number of buildings into a spot in 108 Mile Ranch and creating a museum that tells the history. We've got 13 buildings. We're trying to get a 14th right now. And what we're doing is in 2015, I moved up here I lived about an hour east of Vancouver. And I moved up here on a whim, brought my family up here. And I've never regretted a single day that I've lived up here, even through the 40 below temperatures.
Yep.
And the winter solstice where it's literally dark at 4:00 in the afternoon. I don't like that. But hey,
No.
with the good with the bad. Right now, I'm seeing daylight until 11 o'clock at night. So
Isn't that amazing?
it is amazing. And I'm only a third of the way up the province. So in 2015, I learned about the museum and I got to meet the caretaker there. And as I started meeting people in town, I wasn't into the paranormal. I wasn't into ghost hunting. Yes, I was doing spaced out radio, but I've always considered myself an enthusiast of what's going on. I've never considered myself a researcher. I've never considered myself anybody going to look for this weird stuff that's out there. But, like even when I do go out, prior to the last year or so, I've never brought a camera out. I didn't care. My eyes were good enough because I was selfish about the experience for me. So in 2015, I had some friends come up and I showed them the museum. We went walking around there at night. My friend saw a ghost in the window of one of the houses. And so in 2016, or his paranormal team in Vancouver then came up. They did an investigation there. I kind of tagged along and I thought it was kind of cool. And, we had some unique things happen. And 2016, our caretaker, his name was Ken, passed away.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
And he was originally from South Africa. And the museum being it's one of the, in British Columbia and in Canada in general, a lot of the museums out there are government funded with grants and everything. Mm-hmm. Our museum is one of the only ones in British Columbia that is not government funded.
Oh.
So everything that was raised there, the museum didn't have the money to get, because Ken's final wishes were he wanted to have his ashes sent back home to South Africa. So I figured, it was at one of the meetings for the heritage site, and figured, you know what? Why don't we do a ghost tour? I'll bring up some paranormal friends of mine and we'll do a ghost tour of the museum and we'll sell tickets at $20 a ticket and we will make a 100% donation to whatever. So we got that out in the newspaper and immediately we had people inquiring about it. And we ended up that night with 72 people. And not only on top of that, but our local funeral home in 100 Mile House, which is 8 miles away, that's the bigger town that I live in. They ended up saying, whatever you guys raise, if there's a shortfall to get his ashes back, we will cover.
Wow. And
so 72 people at $20 a head, we had over $1,440.
Wow.
And they covered the other $800 or whatever it was to get the ashes back to South Africa. Mm-hmm. And we thought, wow. And a friend of mine who was on the board of directors for the heritage site, he said, you should consider doing ghost tours here. Okay, yeah, I could probably do that. So in 2017, we started the ghost tours. We were doing them once a month. And it, we were getting 10, 12, 14 people, which is pretty good. And then we had our huge forest fires here where everybody was evacuated.
Yep.
But after the evacuation and everybody kind of settled down, all of a sudden we started getting 40, 50, 60 people tour. And we were like, holy cow, like we don't have any gear. We don't have anything, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, and I've never considered myself a ghost hunter or anything like that. But all of a sudden it's like, where do I get volunteers? Where do I, and I ran into some very good people in my town who were like, hey, I'm into that. I'd love to help out. Great. Well, what do I do? I don't know. We're going to learn together.
Yeah.
And we started learning the ghosts, so we didn't have money for gear or anything like that. So we donated all the money back to the museum. And so what we started doing was we started saying to the museum, we're going to give you 100% of the money. We would like 10% back. So that way we can start buying some paranormal equipment. And they said, absolutely, let's do it. So since then, we've been running the ghost tour. There was a hiatus for a couple of years because of COVID, and there was they brought on this really bad apple on their executive for a few years, who claimed because he was a firefighter for 34 years, there's no such thing as the paranormal.
Oh,
like literally, he told me that, and I told the museum at that point, I said, you guys could go to hell. I've won you your first ever tourism award, or not me personally, but my team won you first ever paranormal or your first ever tourism award through the Caribou Tourism Association, and which is pretty big because if you look at the Caribou region in British Columbia, it's the size of a small country. It really is. It's a very large place. And so in 2023, I was contacted by a new president. Her name is Kelly. And he said, she's like, would you ever consider bringing the ghost tours back? And I said, no. You guys, or the previous board, really, really did not treat us very well.
Yep.
And you took advantage of us. And I mean, one of the accusations that they made was that we were breaking and entering into buildings. And when we broke and entered into the barn, this was all made up by this bad apple. We stole all the wooden shingles. Come to my house, come to my friend Mark's house. There's no wooden shingles. Okay. Later, it was found out that he's the one who took them, right?
Yeah.
Allegedly. Got to throw in allegedly.
Yeah.
Hence to say Kelly tells me, well, this person is no longer on the board. Would you consider it? And I said, well, let me talk to my team. And we started getting it going. And in 2024, I was really burnt out. And I had been working on another project with my good friend Samantha Mowat, intuitive and AT contactee. And I've been working with my good friend Merle from the Paranormal Road Trippers. And we wanted to investigate another area. And we had some incredible experiences out in the forest with Bigfoot and with paranormal activity and UFO activity. And I decided in 2025 or late in 2024 after the ghost tour season, that I just was going to take a break. It was starting to feel like a job and not fun.
Yeah.
And so I decided not to go back in 2025. And then there were some things that happened with the museum, and they're like, well, would you consider coming back and doing at least a Halloween haunted tour? No, you people need to learn. You need to pay the price a little bit. And, I'm not talking tough here because in case any of them hear them, that literally was the conversation. Okay.
Yeah.
And I said, no. So over time, going in through October, November, I started thinking of this idea. And Merle and I had originally talked about creating a paranormal tourism event. And because the Caribou is just so haunted and nobody knows. And it's a great road trip. The highway takes you straight up to Alaska. And what I love about this time of year in the summer is that, on a sidebar, I like to drive down the highway back and forth just so I could see the different license plates of all our American visitors coming through. And there's a lot from California. I've seen Oklahoma. I've seen almost every state.
Wow.
Through here. I wish I would have written them down, but so I figured, you know what? Let me do some studying here. I may have an idea that will benefit the museum and benefit myself as well. And I started doing some studying on the east and central coast, and even on the west coast of the United States, where a lot of paranormal tourism hotspots, whether it's Alcatraz or Gettysburg or the Lizzie Borden house or other famous haunted houses, how are they surviving? So I went on a bunch of their websites and I did some research, and I noticed that they were doing very well financially because they were promoting paranormal tourism. So I decided to come up with the concept of Haunted 108. And what we do is it's going to take a few years to finally get it going, 2-3 years. We have our bi-weekly ghost tours where people can come in. And when I say a ghost tour, it's not like what everybody else does. Everybody else out there, and Kat, you know this, you go around a museum and you stop on the outside and you're like, okay, this was the house of Samuel Jackson, and Samuel allegedly murdered his wife and family because his lover asked him to, and they tell a great piece of historic story there. We don't do that. We take those stories, we take you inside the buildings, and then we tell you all of our gear. We lead you through an actual paranormal investigation where you get to be the paranormal investigator. We encourage photos. We encourage involvement. We know the ghosts of the homes because we've been doing it for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually take people on we say it's 2 hours, but sometimes if the buildings are really hot, we extend them. Like I've told my team point blank, I said, if you're in the final building of the night on your part of the tour, and you are getting some incredible paranormal action, don't stop. Keep going. I don't care if you're there another 35, 40 minutes. Give these people an experience of a lifetime. And so that's what we do. One of the other things that we're doing right now is we call it the overnight experience, where people can go on our website, haunted108.com. They can actually book one of the bedrooms in what we call the McNeil House, which is the main house on the museum. And they can book a room in there. And with that cost, we provide a caretaker to take you around the museum, and you can investigate any building you want all night long.
Oh, wow.
So literally, we provide all of the equipment. We provide a tour guide, and if you want to go to bed, we've done 2 of them now. And both of those people who did them were absolutely blown away. They were blown away by the hospitality, but more so they were blown away by the experiences that they had. One guy, on the first one that we did just a couple of weeks ago, this gentleman was a complete skeptic. He believed his girlfriend was very much into the paranormal. And he believed, but he's like, I need real good proof to show me. And he left after that night. And what we do is we interview the people before and after for our social media. And he's like, I came in looking like, whatever. Let's just not a believer, but not a non-believer.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm a believer. This was amazing. Absolutely amazing. So you get to sleep in a haunted house. You get to investigate a haunted house, a haunted barn, a haunted post house, any building you want, you can investigate. We open them all up. And it doesn't matter if you want to go to bed at 12:30 or if you want to go to bed at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
We do it. And we're going to be adding over time as it becomes more popular. We are going to be adding over time more experiences. We want to start doing a lot more with have monthly guest speakers, like you and I are using a program called StreamYard right now, where we can bring up a monthly speaker on StreamYard and have people come in and listen to that guest.
That's a
we
great
want
idea.
we want to start doing little things like teaching paranormal courses, which we're probably going to start in the fall, because that's when people start, around September, once the kids get back to school. It's like, okay, kids are back in school. What do we do next? Well, let's talk about ghosts. because Halloween's next month, right? And that's where it kind of starts. So Haunted 108 it's a paranormal paradise. It literally is one of the most haunted places in British Columbia. Of course, we can never guarantee an experience, but what we can do is we can offer you an opportunity to have an experience. And so far, especially with the overnight experiences that people can book at haunted108.com, it has been very well worth it.
I wish I still lived in Alberta. It would be easier for me to go on a tour. Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, I that really, because I've been to a public investigation here in the Ottawa Valley in Ontario. The first time that they had at the Champlain Trail Museum here, and it was like $20 a head as well, and they had the team there with their equipment. 98 people showed up, and we're just like, wow, like. I think there's too many people for the investigation personally. They had to split us up in 4 groups, but that's it. You visited the old schoolhouse, the church, one of the houses, and of course the museum. But this gives you even more of an experience because you can stay at the house. I love that idea.
Yeah. And as it picks up, we are going to be offering a lot more. I mean, it's all about popularity. Like once somebody grabs a hold of it, that's when it's going to take off. And we know we have the location. Our facilities are beautiful. It's right on the lakefront of 108 Mile Lake. So if you want to, while you're, relaxing, during the day, if you want to go fishing, go fishing.
Yeah.
If you want to drive around the town, go drive around the town. If you want to go play golf, go play golf. If you want to, go ATV riding, well, you rent an ATV and you go for a ride. Or maybe you got your own and you go riding during the day, and at night we take you on a paranormal investigation. We have the ability to do absolutely everything here. And, most people, when they come here, they're first time people. They've never done the tour before. And when they leave, they're like, holy cow, because they've seen it on television. They've seen it on YouTube or whatever their viewing pleasure is. And we have that ability to take them in there and say, okay, you want the experience? We'll give you. Like, give you an example. We have one ghost in our Clydesdale barn. We don't know his name. I will never ask him his name. This ghost knows his power. He does. We photographed him twice, and he doesn't like to be photographed. And in order to keep the tour people safe, I had to cut a deal with them. And I said, look, nobody's going to go up on your catwalk unless you give permission. I said, but during the tour, nobody's going to go on the catwalk. We give them a bottle of whiskey. So at the top of his catwalk, there's a bottle of whiskey, there's a shot glass, and there are cigarettes up there for him. And we say, hey, if you want a cigarette, have your cigarette. But I would say 70% of our tour participants, when we are there doing the tour, I witness him. And how he looks is, so if we're on the upstairs barn floor, okay, because the barn has 2 tiers, there's a catwalk above the middle of the barn, because our beautiful barn, which is called the Watson Barn, is one of the largest A-frame buildings in the world to this day. And so in order to get from one side to the other, they had to build a catwalk in order to go across. Well, this spirit, don't know his name. If you want to go check out his picture, go look at it at Haunted 108 on Facebook or on our website, haunted108.com. He will give you the chills. And to me, it's one of the greatest paranormal photos ever taken. And he'll stand at the top of his catwalk looking down onto the floor at us, and you can see his outline. It's like it's blurry and pixelated, and like heat coming off of it. You will see his outline. And some people will see him move. And there are some people, they're trying so hard to see him, they just can't see him. You know, when you're looking hard at something, what do? Your eyes are all over the place. They can't focus in on them.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Some people don't get the experience, but about 75% of our people will get that experience.
That's pretty good.
We have one ghost in our post house. His name is Willie. He's in the upstairs. And he doesn't like people touching anything in his room. Don't touch his walls. Don't touch his bed. Okay. Don't touch anything. But what Willie's now allowing us to do, which is really cool, is he will go into his closet. The theory about Willie is in the upstairs, it's kind of a romantic story. And I've had this story combined by a number of different intuitives that never met each other, never even been to the facility. But you let them roll and you see what coordinates. And they all said the same thing, that we have two spirits upstairs in the post house. We have Willie and we have Mary. Mary was a young, beautiful young lady who was kidnapped from her home to become a prostitute. She tried to escape and they took her out. And Willie was in love with her. And so allegedly what happened, according to these number of intuitives, is that after she passed, he went into the closet and hung himself.
Oh.
So Mary is still in the building and Willie protects her. We had one dark psychic in 2019 come in and tried to remove Mary from the house. And Willie went crazy. You always hear these people, hey, if you piss off a ghost, you're going to get that sulfur type smell.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never smelled that before until that happened.
Yeah, I've never smelled it either.
And I had to get everybody out of the house. I had to shut the building down.
Yeah.
Right.
For everyone's safety.
And I had to go in there and I had to deal with it. And that lady is now banned from the location, banned from ever coming on location, banned from the tour. Horrible, horrible person. Absolutely. And I've had run-ins with her since then. Mm-hmm. Not many, one or two. And, but you're in our field, you're going to deal with the narcissists.
Yeah.
That are like that, unfortunately. So getting back to the story, Willie, when we get upstairs into the post house, he will allow people to go into his room. And if I'm standing there, or one of my tour guides is standing in there, I'll say, okay, Willie, we're going to allow these people to touch you. You don't mind. And he will actually allow people to touch him. And the majority of people will actually they'll feel a temperature change inside the closet. They will feel energy spiking and it'll feel like something is pushing back on your hand. There's nothing there. Mm-hmm. People feel it, right? And people will experience it. And it's just another one of those things that we do, try and make people have an encounter or an experience. A couple things we don't allow on the tour. We do not allow psychics. Mm-hmm. At least in we don't want look, I'm intuitive. A couple other people are intuitive, but psychic readings do not bring people because you don't know if I'm psychic. I don't know if you're psychic. I don't know if you're getting the same thing that I am. Mm-hmm. And we also don't want to have any intuitives come in there and try to cross spirits away. So we're very, very particular, and we have a bunch of paranormal equipment that we now use that we ask the spirits to communicate with that. Because one of the things that we've learned over the time of doing the tour and into Haunted 108 is you can be the world's greatest psychic giving a perfect reading in there. And there's a lot of incredible people out there, Kat. You know that. You've interviewed a bunch of them. Yeah. So have I. But blinky lights really, really help. People get a little weirded out when all of a sudden you're standing 60 feet from a ghost candle, and all of a sudden the ghost candle blows out, right? Because you asked it to. Hey, if there's any horses in the barn, can you walk up to the candle and blow the candle out? Poof, gone. Right? So we try and provide a great experience for everybody. We try to, we do have some rules and guidelines due to insurance that we have to cover. Like, we don't allow kids under the age of 13. Anybody under the age of 17 has to be accompanied by an adult. That's just for insurance purposes. It's not that we don't want to allow them, but I don't want to scare some 8-year-old. Like, a lot of people will come into Haunted 108, and they will say, and they're actually expecting like a carnival where there's going to be people jumping out from behind walls yelling boo, or chasing you down a hallway with a chainsaw with no chain on it, right? Or, going into rooms where there's blood and gore and all of this. And that's not what this is. And we tell them right off the bat, this isn't what this is about. This is about you having a paranormal experience, a paranormal encounter. And what can we do to teach you about not only the local history of these buildings, but the spirits that are here. The spirits, like, we get a lot of transient spirits in our buildings. They're not from here. They're just traveling. Yeah. And one of the questions that I ask a lot of people, and I've really been trying to learn myself, because I think we're always ever evolving in our knowledge on this subject. I'll say to people, 10, 15, 20 years ago, I knew what a ghost was. Today, I don't know what a ghost is. Is it the spirit of a human? Is it trickster? Is it residual energy? Are we actually intersecting timelines from a different dimension? What are we doing here? And this is why you often hear people say there are no experts in this field, right? And if they do proclaim to be an expert, they're full of it.
Yeah.
Right? So it is what it is. It's exciting. It's a lot of fun. It's something that I hope everybody takes advantage of. And, if many of our American listeners decide that they want to drive up to Alaska, whether they're just going for a vacation, going to visit family, or maybe they're part of the military, whatever, come on by. Yeah. It's right there. You can't miss it. Right along the highway. You can't miss it. You're going to pass it. No matter what, you are going to pass it. So stop by and have an experience for a night.
That's amazing. I love how you approach it as a respectful manner. I hate it when I hear people who do investigations, whether it's TV shows or just, actual investigators, and they're trying to antagonize the spirits. I find it's been my experience that when you approach an investigation with integrity and you're respecting them, we used to get a lot more hits, a lot more things on the EMF detectors, on the cameras, on, whatever, MP3 players. We used to get more hits being respectful than if you're trying to be nasty. And the way I look at it, if you can't see something, why are you going to antagonize them? Because you don't know what they can do.
Well, you know what? You bring up a good point. So here's a couple things that we do, Kat, prior to the tour starting. We will go into every building and we will ask the spirits, could you please join us? Because these people are paying money to have an encounter with you. Okay. And with the money that we raise, we put it back to the museum. This is how we keep your home up to date. This is how we keep a roof over your head. This is how we keep your buildings here, so you always have a place to stay. So we're doing this to help you. Could you please do this to help us? The other thing that we do is we have rules. Okay, we don't allow people to run around roughshod in the buildings. Prior to the tour starting and us breaking into groups, we will go over the rules and guidelines. Okay, we don't ask questions like, are you dead? How did you die? right? Because we don't
Usual. Yeah.
we don't need the paranormal rage baiting that we hear on television, because a lot of these spirits may not know that they're deceased.
Yeah.
All right. And if we're at intersecting timelines and dimensions, they may not be dead.
Yeah, exactly.
So we ask questions like, hey, what's the last date on a calendar you remember?
I love that one.
Okay. Who did you last hang out with? What's your last memory that you had? We ask questions like that, it's kind of like that stupidity on YouTube or on social media where you're not allowed to say the word dead anymore. You have to say unalive.
Oh, I get
that.
angry when I hear that word.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Or you can't say gun. Like on Spaced Out Radio, you can't say, because we broadcast on YouTube as well, live, you can't say gun because your channel will hit the AI algorithms and it'll be pushed down. So we use the word pointy sticks.
Yeah.
Right. But the reality is that's, we're trying to I'm going to use the word manipulate, and I don't mean that in a horrible way.
Yeah.
Okay. I just don't know another word for it right now. We're trying to manipulate the answer to get them to answer the question without sounding like a rude, crass type of paranormal investigator where they go into those locations and dang gummit, they are going to get a reaction. You don't ignore me. I'm a paranormal investigator. Right.
Yeah.
But we're also realists as well. Okay. We're not conducting for the last decade, there's been all these people in the paranormal community. I'm conducting scientific experimentation into the paranormal. No, you're not. We don't lie about that. We just give it. Okay. And for those paranormal people listening, no, there is nothing that you are doing scientific. Okay. Unless you have a purpose, a procedure, a hypothesis, and going back to grade 10 science. And what is your conclusion at the end? And can you repeat it at the same location over and over and over and over again? You're conducting nothing scientific. Using a parabolic mic or using a K2 meter or a REM pod or a candle or whatever you are using. Those are all toys for communication. There's nothing scientific there. And so we provide a paranormal reality for our people who are coming in. And here's the other thing that we do, Kat, that I think you'll like. As tour guides, my strict rule is we do not take pictures. We want all of our photos that people capture of ghosts to be from people on the tour. Gotcha. So that way, when they send them to us, we can evaluate them. We can find out what kind of phone or camera they were using, right? Or if they have their own paranormal gear, use it. We do not want to tamper with any potential evidence, because a lot of people will say, oh, well, you're taking all these photos and then you're creating them out of Photoshop, like that idiot who used to be on the board of directors for the heritage site. Right. And I would be like, no, that's not true. Okay. If you want to believe that, that's your call, but that's not true. We do not take any photos while we are guides on the tour, because we do not want that stigma that we are manipulating photos.
Exactly. You want to be legit, because you are.
Absolutely. So
I find too, locations where you have paranormal investigators go like every weekend, I find that they ask the same questions, and this is from teams that I've spoken to. I'm not just speculating. Teams around all over the place, and I just lost my train of thought. Oh my God, what was I going to say?
Well, we were talking about repetition and questions.
Oh, right. And if they don't get any response from the other side, maybe it's because every weekend they're asking the same questions and the spirits are tired of it. They're like, oh no, there's another team. It just sounds that way. I don't have any real proof to say that's what's happening, but it kind of sounds like it too. So trying to have some other questions that aren't considered the normal questions, I find is a benefit, or it can be a benefit.
We have one spirit in one of our barns right now. His energy is terrible. He's a brand new spirit there.
Oh, wow.
And his energy is terrible. And he got me a couple weeks ago. He got me. He attached to me. And I was like, you son of a gun. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Next time we had a tour, I went in there. And there's a new thing that is now happening in our barn. When we go deal with him or something, we are actually having, now this barn is probably 70 yards long. It's got a tin roof. And now what's happening is when we call out that spirit or whoever else is there, they're now rattling the entire roof like all of a sudden we're being hit by a hailstorm.
Yep.
And I've never had that happen. So how do I prove that scientifically? I'm not trying. It's nothing scientific, but it's just another weird oddity that we get to ask, that we're having happen in the barn in real time. And I don't know why it's happening, but that's another mystery that we have to solve. Because when you keep going back to the same location, there is a chance that you get lackadaisical. But on the flip side, if you can somehow get it becoming a gift that keeps on giving, that's where it makes it so much more fun.
Can you quickly tell us some of the equipment that you use?
We use a lot of amateur cheap gear. And number one, for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's easy to replace, cheap to replace. And in case somebody accidentally, and we've had this happen, goes home with a K2 meter or leaves it in the pocket, a cat ball or whatever.
It happens, yeah.
It happens. It's easy to replace. We do have a little bit more expensive gear, like a FLIR camera or night vision or what else I'm thinking? Like even one of those ghost candles, that's $300 or $200 or whatever it is. By the time you exchange it into Canadian, it's close to 300 now, right?
Yeah.
But we do have a little bit of expensive gear that we are using, but mostly we use a lot of the easy stuff. And look, I know there's a lot of paranormal investigators. K2 meters don't work, whatever. You know what? I have had great success.
I have too.
K2 meter. And and I have friends who can't use them. Excuse me. They can't use them because they don't work. Guess what doesn't work for me, Kat?
What?
A ghost box.
Really?
I have 3 ghost boxes. I get nothing. Nothing.
That's crazy.
I had my friend, my buddy Mark, who used to run the tours with me. He would be having full-on conversations, whether we were doing the ghost box or whether we, sometimes if there's time, we'll put our guests under the Estes method. Okay. Because it's a cool thing to do.
It is.
And, everything is controlled. We do everything safe. So I know there's going to be a lot of people out there listening and be like, oh, do that. Oh my God, you should never do that. The safety. We already know everything we do in a safe environment.
Yep.
I hate to sound cocky on that, but safety is the number one priority.
Definitely. So like I always suggest to people, if they're going to start paranormal investigating, please don't do it by yourself. Because I'm not talking about what's going to be there from the other side. It's just, what if you walk in a hole and break an ankle or something and no one knows you're there?
Absolutely.
Then we're going to be investigating you at some point. So just have the buddy system.
Absolutely. So we end up very much, using gear that people will use, because there's certain pieces of gear, Kat, that are going to work for you, but are not going to work for me. And there's certain pieces. And look, I'm not going to go buy a $1,500 SLS camera and let everybody and their dog use it. So we use, like we have the strip ghost lights that if they tap the lights, they can use it. Cat balls are very successful with what we do. We have REM pods that we use, from homemade cheap ones to expensive ones. I'll be honest with you, in all the years that I've worked the museum, I think maybe once, twice, I've actually seen a REM pod go off.
Oh.
Mikey, who's my videographer, and he does the private tours when people stay the night. He's the caretaker who will take them around. And that guy can throw a strip light and a K2 meter or in a ghost box or a cat ball on one of the beds of one of the buildings, and he can get those things to go off like anything. I'm sitting there fighting it. I'm like, come on, light the damn thing up, right? And I don't get anything, but I don't do it that way.
It never ceases to amaze me how that works. They're not getting anything, you give it to somebody else, and it's,
absolutely.
It's amazing.
Absolutely. So we do use a lot of gear. We're always looking for more. We just had a big shipment come in here recently that's helping us out. And, sometimes, we have everything from dowsing rods to temperature gauges to the FLIR to, radiation detectors. We have absolutely everything. But the main thing is we want things that people can use and they're going to understand how it's used. We know where the wiring is. So, K2s don't work around cell phones. Well, that's why we tell everybody, put their phone in their back pocket and turn their phones to airplane mode. Okay. Like, we have answers. We're not dumb people who are trying to, scam people on anything like that.
Yeah.
But when you have 30, 40, 50 people coming in at a night, and, like I just bought 12 new K2 meters. Because we want people to be able to use, we want people to use their phones, and we don't allow apps on our tour. I mean, if there's anybody getting ripped off on anything right now, it's these paranormal ghost apps.
I agree.
Right?
Some people swear by them, but
to each their own.
Yeah.
To each their own. Right? So everything is very analog.
So we only have a couple of minutes here, Mr. Scott. I just wanted to mention, first of all, that I was gifted by my father a wire finder. So when we used to go on investigations, if the K2 meter was going off, we don't know if there's wires under that floor or behind that wall, for sure. So, because a lot of times they'd say, oh yeah, there's something here. Well, no, I get the wire finder and I'm like, yeah, there's 5 wires here. So it helps me to figure out. I always hate the word debunking, but that's what we're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And look, we want to be able to explain. Like I tell our tour people when they come on the tour, look, if we're in a building and it's lights out and you're shuffling your feet or you're burping, you're farting, you're sneezing, you're laughing or whatever, call it out. Say that was me. So that way we know, because we don't want people to have a fake experience. We want people at the Haunted 108 to have a wonderful experience and enjoy their paranormal nighttime adventure.
That's amazing. I really hope that someday I get a chance to go on one of your tours. It sounds amazing.
It is. You would love it.
Well, Mr. Scott, if you could kindly tell the audience, I'm pretty sure they all know who you are anyways, just where they can find you.
Well, Monday through Friday night, I host Spaced Out Radio. You could go to YouTube if you're not in one of my terrestrial radio station areas. Go to YouTube. That's probably the easiest place, or download us at any time at Spaced Out Radio on every major podcast network. Haunted 108, if you want to take my tour, go to haunted108.com. You can book right now for either a tour if you're in the area, or if you want an overnight experience, please book that as well. Remember, if you're in America, it's in Canadian dollars. So do the math, do the exchange. So I think it's for every $100, it's only costing you like 14 cents right now. I don't know, but go check it on out, haunted108.com. And we are going to be building our Haunted 108 YouTube channel. And we're all over social media as Haunted 108 as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dave. If you have a couple minutes to chat after I say farewell to the audience, we'll chat for a couple minutes and then I'll let you go.
Take care.
You as well. A huge thank you to my special guest, Mr. Dave Scott, and to you, my wonderful haunted hearts, for tuning in. I also want to thank UPRN 107.7 New Orleans, 105.3 the Gulf Coast for carrying the show. If you enjoyed tonight's episode and you're interested in doing so, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. It truly does mean the world to me. And if you'd like to be on the show, you have guest or topic ideas, or just want to say, hey, Kat, how's it going? Drop me an email at paranormalheart13@gmail.com. I'd also love to hear from what country you're listening from. So until we meet again, take care of yourselves and each other. Much love to you all.